My next guest found herself part of a group of young women and children forced to surrender their bodies in some of the most evil rituals imaginable. Her own child was used in a human sacrifice ritual. It was only 3 years ago that Lauren Stratford gained the courage to talk about her horrifying experiences publicly. She still receives harassing phone calls and threats from members of the cult. She's the author of this book called Satan's Underground. As a child, my next guest was used also in worshiping the devil, participated in human sacrifice rituals and cannibalism. She says her family has been involved in rituals for generations. She is currently in extensive therapy, suffers from multiple personality disorder, meaning she's blocked out many of the terrifying and painful memories of her childhood. Meet Rachel, who is also in disguise to protect her identity. My next guest treats ritually abused children in her therapist practice. She feels that the problem is much more widespread than any of us can imagine. Says there's no doubt in her mind that the children and adults that she treats are telling the truth. Tina Grossman, we're glad to have all of you join us here on the show. You come from generations of ritualistic abuse?
Yes, my family has an extensive family tree, and they keep track of who's been involved and who hasn't been involved. And it's gone back to like 1700.
And so you were
right.
abused.
I was born into a family that believes in this.
And does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl.
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? And so who knows about it? Lots of people now.
I talked to a police detective in the Chicago area, and several of my friends know, and I've spoke publicly before. And
so when you were brought up in this kind of evilness, did you just think it was normal?
I blacked out a lot of the memories I had because of my multiple personality disorder, but yes, I mean, it's like if you grow up with something, you think it's normal. Mm-hmm. I always thought
so. What kinds of things? You don't have to give us the gory details, but what kinds of things went on in the family?
Well, there would be rituals in which babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to, you know...
Whose babies?
There were people who bred babies in our family. No one would know about it. A lot of people were overweight, so you couldn't tell if they were pregnant or not, or they would supposedly go away for a while and then come back.
Now, you were telling us earlier that this was that the practice with the Kilroy death was a religion called
Palamayombe, which not all people who practice Palamayombe obviously sacrifice. I think what we're looking at is a worship of evil here.
Right.
Taking normal or standard religions and perverting them to the worship of evil.
Right. And I just want to emphasize that you don't have to be Caribbean to do it.
No.
Yes.
The other thing I want to point out, not all Jewish people sacrifice babies. I mean,
no.
That's not a very typical thing. I just want to point that out.
This is the first time I heard of any Jewish people sacrificing babies, but anyway. So you witnessed the sacrifice?
Right. When I was very young, I was forced to participate in that, in which I had to sacrifice an infant.
And the purpose of sacrifice is to what? Is to bring you what? What are you sacrificing for?
For power.
Uh-huh. Power.
For power.
Uh-huh. power. And so, were you ever used? Were you ever used yourself?
I was molested. I was raped several times.
And what's your mother doing?
She's
in all of this. What's her role in all of this?
I'm not exactly what her role is. I haven't, recovered all of my memories, but her family was extremely involved. She brought me to it. Both of my parents brought me to it.
And where is she now?
She's lives in the Chicago metropolitan area. She's on the Human Relations Commission of the town that she lives in, and she's an upstanding citizen. Nobody would suspect her. Nobody would suspect anybody involved in it. There's police officers involved in it. There's, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs involved in it. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family. It's not the person, who looks scummy that's involved in it. It's someone who looks normal.
Yeah, you wanted to say
Over as difficult as this seems, and of course people maybe don't track these things as much as I do, but in Monrovia, Liberia, a couple of years ago, about 7 gentlemen, one of which was trying to become mayor. These were politicians, very political figures in Monrovia, Liberia. Sacrificed, they had an abduction of a 6- and 7-year-old boy, and the religion was Juju. Certainly not all people do that in Juju, but they believed by sacrificing these children that they would be able to gain political favor through this supernatural belief system. So
I just wanted to say that if you were raised in a household where you learned right from wrong, how could that ever be right? It's so wrong. I don't know how anybody could say that would be okay to do.
Were you raised with a sense of right and wrong, Rachel?
Yes. It's like I had both. To the outside world, everything we did was proper and right, and then there were the nights that things changed, that things just got turned around. What was wrong was right, and what was right was wrong. What was wrong was right, and what was right was wrong. What was wrong was right, and what was right was wrong.
Yes, I think it's important to know that these people definitely believe that Satan is the most powerful person, more powerful than God. And they believe in one time, I believe a lot of these preschool kids are being abused now, so that in future years they will be called to be our future generation.
You mean in the nursery schools that we hear about?
Yes, yes. And these people believe. It's as much as I believe in my God, in Jesus Christ, they believe in their God as being Satan, that he has more power and he's going to defeat everybody. And
did you once believe that too?
No, I was never a Satanist, but I certainly lived with people who did believe that.
Did you ever participate in the killing of human sacrifice?
I don't know. I would assume I probably did. I seldom say that. I'm very emotional today because of having to watch these pictures. I have never broken down on a show before, but today I'm on the verge of it because I was on a radio program the other day and I got so upset because I said, what's the magic number where do we have to uncover 500 bodies or 1,000 bodies before we believe it? Does it have to be in Arizona or does it have to be in New York? When will the country finally, it's in Mexico, so now it doesn't happen in the United States, but I saw it, she saw it, people across the country. I get letters from parents who have seen it. I don't know where my son is. I would like to bring his body and show him to you and say, now will you believe? And I think most of the country would find a way still
not to believe
it because then we have to do something about it.
It's just like this woman said, and it's just like Mr. Maddox said earlier, it's very hard for those of us who've been raised, and I've been raised in the Christian faith, and many people raised in the Jewish faith. It's very difficult for good, upstanding, decent people to even it's hard for this to even seep into our brains. And we have, spared the tales of what actually happened in that ranch. It's hard for the human mind to conceive that this is what went on. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
We'll be back. So Tina, you counsel ritually abused kids like Rachel.
Yes, and adult survivors of ritual abuse, the treatment of MPD.
And you say that it is far more prevalent than we probably imagine?
There's no question about it.
See, because I know a lot of people are shaking their head here, and I'm sure that when you go back home, I mean, everyone's going to try to make you look like you're crazy.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
They do that all the time.
It's very difficult to believe. So how is it that you come to believe these people, Tina?
Well, I've treated over 40 survivors of ritual abuse, adult patients with multiple personality disorder, and from many states in this country, as well as Canada. What we've seen and heard and gone through in the abreactions, which is the remembered experiences of that, we are hearing the identical same things from these adults. Okay, these are not children that are 3 years old, and you can, as an adult, perhaps rationalize that this is fantasy material. These adults are saying things they have never met each other before. They are describing identical rituals. These adults are saying things they have never met each other before. They are describing identical rituals, just the same as, since I'm Jewish, you could go to New York or California and describe a Seder in one state or another, and as a Jew you would recognize it. This is the belief system in evil and the power that evil gives you, and as a Jew you would recognize it. This is the belief system in evil and the power that evil gives you. And so it has these certain rituals. So they are very similar with all of the survivors.
See, but I am very surprised because the Jewish faith is the Jewish faith, and worshiping the devil is not a part of the Jewish faith.
But the primitive
Jewish people do not worship the devil.
But before there was Christ, and before there was a system of one God, there was paganism, and still exists in the world, in many cultures, you still find the belief that there is strength and power in the actual consumption of human flesh. You still find the belief that there is strength and power in the actual consumption of human flesh.
Now, in your family, did you all call it worshiping the devil,
No,
Rachel? Or
I don't know.
It was just evil, these things you did.
Right. Well, I said it was evil, and they said it was good. There was a book that I had just come across called Lola's Cave, which is a book of Jewish mysticism and supernatural, and there's a lot in that book that relates to what I, endured when I was a child.
I want to stop right here, though, because you know how people build prejudices, just like you said about the Caribbeans. I want to make it very clear, this is one Jewish person. So don't go around now saying to people, those Jewish people, they're worshiping them. This is just one person.
Most Jewish people do not do what my family did. I mean, I don't know very many other Jewish people who...
Do you know how people hear one thing and then they go off and they say, I heard on Oprah Winfrey show today that... When we come back, you'll meet a mother whose son was killed in a satanic sacrifice. Back in a moment.